So I just wanted to go over some of the ingredients we have for this pizza. I'm making the focaccia pizza bread. So what we have here is the oil. We're going to use that for greasing the inside of the bowls and also the pans and things like that. So that's what that is. That's about 74 grams of oil. Okay, and then we have our sugar here, and that's going to be about 4 grams of sugar. And then over here we have the salt, and 7.6 grams of salt. And then we have our yeast, which is 1.8 grams of yeast. And so there are those ingredients. And then I also have here the flour. The flour that is going to be, this is the 585 grams. Of course, this could be anything. You just have to adjust the other ratios. But so that's the flour we're going to use. And then as far as water goes, it's about, the water is about 2 3/4 cups of water. And the water equals about 663 grams of the whole recipe. So you're going to add 603 grams eventually to the flour. But it's approximately, the water is approximately 2 3/4 cups. Anyway, these are going to be all added throughout the process. Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to be baking a focaccia pizza sheet. This kind of pizza is for someone who likes a thicker crust. It's a thick crust, but not heavy. It doesn't sit in your stomach. It's like light and bubbly. And on the top, just have your sauce and your cheese. And so that's what we're going to be baking today. Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to add our yeast to the flour. All right, and then we're just going to mix that in there and then place it into the, we're going to use our KitchenAid for this recipe today. So then we're going to put this into the KitchenAid, let it mix for 2 minutes with the yeast and flour, and then start adding our water. Okay, we have our flour mixture in the KitchenAid now. And to start, we're going to use this, we grease it with a little olive oil, but use this paddle adjustment to start off mixing the dough. Excuse me, that's just Winston barking. We'll put it on 2 for now. Okay, this is where we are going to add the water, the 663 grams or 2 3/4 cups. And then we are going to turn the mixer up after we've added the water to the number 4 setting on the KitchenAid. Just be careful when you pour the water in that, you know, you're farther away. You don't get your fingers stuck in there or anything. After the water's in, it should start to look like soup, and then we'll turn it up to 4 and let it go for about 15 minutes. Okay, you can see now that the flour has been beaten for about 15 to 20 minutes, and you can see now it has like this mozzarella cheese quality to it. You know, it's worked out the gluten here, and we can now add the salt and sugar to the recipe, and then mix it about 3 more minutes, and then we can put it in our dough container for the rest of the time. So here's our salt, put that in. Here's our sugar. Okay, And then we can just go ahead and start this mixing again. All right, so now at the point where we are going to take this dough out of here, and you can see how it exactly looks like mozzarella cheese. So what we'll do is leave that there. And we're going to put this we're going to take this dough, right, and then pull this off, all this stuff into the bowl, off of the paddle. And it's going to be very sticky because of the fact that this is obviously the percentage of water is higher than the percentage of flour. So again, we have a real wet dough, real sticky dough. But this is what gives us that great light flavor in the bread crust when we're done with this. We're going to take this dough and just pop it in our dough riser. That's already been greased with olive oil. You can see it kind of just slimes right out of there. Again, the consistency of mozzarella cheese. Now, we just leave it sit in this container and we let it rise now. About 4 or 5 hours. And then we'll come back to it. So I'm just going to start by rubbing some of this oil in to the pan before we put the dough on it. Just kind of cover every part of it. Edges to edges. Even the sides. Okay. It's done. And then we want to take our dough that we've had rise. All right. And then we can start to kind of peel it out. You get your hands a little olive oil in your hand, and then start to kind of just peel it out from the top. And then there, push it down, and it'll kind of start coming out of the tub. Okay, so we've poured all the dough out, and then as you can see, we started spreading out a little bit. I'm going to let it rest 10 minutes, and then we will spread it out further, and then we're going to put a saran wrap with one side spread with a little olive oil on one side of it, and then put it over this and let it rest for another hour. So that's kind of what it looks like right now. You can see it's really gorgeous. And we kept all that air in there, which you're supposed to do. You want to do that, keep it nice, light and airy. You see that? All right. All right, so with the rest of the olive oil, what I'm going to do is take some of it, put it on this, baster, and then kind of spread it onto this saran wrap sheet. Doesn't have to be totally perfect. Just a nice slick on it. So we've let this dough rest now for about 10 minutes. We greased our fingers again, and then we're going to try and kind of just pull it out a little bit, get it towards the edges all the way. There we go. All right. All the while trying not to destroy all this nice air we have inside this dough. There we go. See that? All right, just pull it to the sides as best you can. Now, it's ready to get its saran wrap that we just boiled up. And we'll take that and we'll just kind of place it over the dough lightly. And this way, when we pull it off, it hopefully will not rip any of the bubbles off. There we go. We'll just place that kind of lightly on top and let this rest for another hour or so. You'll kind of see it kind of get larger. That's what we do now. Just wait an hour, and we'll take care of the rest. All right, so now we have, this is an hour later, we have our pizza. It's risen a bit, as you can see. It's right against the saran wrap. It's a nice airy pizza in there. So we're gonna pull this off carefully. So we don't want to rip off any of the tops of the bubbles. So we just kind of pull this off. That's why we greased it earlier. There we go. As you can see, it's coming off nicely. We're not ripping and gaping holes in it. That ends a little bit tough. There we go. All right. So this is what it's going to look like pre-oven, okay? Now I'm going to take our sauce, and in another video I made about pizzas, we kind of described the sauce a bit, which I will put at the end. I'll describe how I make it again. But again, it's this sauce that is kind of like very light, absolutely tasty. It's San Marzano tomatoes, 20-ounce can, and you just kind of basically work it through a food millet, and it just becomes like this. So we just take this, what we have here is pizza, and we just start kind of just lightly dabbing on in places. We don't want to flatten the whole thing, you know. Okay, so we've got all the tomato sauce on there. We have 2 cheeses here. This one's an Italian blend. This one is a Mexican blend. I usually like to fuse them both for my pizzas, but again, you can choose any type of pizza, any type of cheese you want for this stuff. So I'm gonna spread this out a little bit, kind of thin layer, you know, at first, all the way to the edges, and just kind of work like that. All right, so now we have all the cheese on, all the tomato sauce, and this puppy, it's nice and light and airy still, is ready to go into the oven. Now we're ready to place this lovely pie in the oven. Right on the stone. We preheated at 500 degrees about an hour ago. All right, close it up. Okay, so it's been about 10 to 12 minutes. We're gonna see how it looks. Looks pretty good, and I think it's about time to pull this guy out. Alright, so it looks like it's a very nice light crust. There's cheese on top, there's some tomato sauce in there, and we're going to let it up here and sit for a while. Okay, so what I did was I let it rest for 10 minutes or so on top of the oven. Then I just pulled this pizza off onto a pan and cut it, put it back in the dark pan here, and pulled the stone out of the oven. Now I rest it on the oven here while people eat it, just so it stays crispy and stays good while people are eating it. So I pulled the piece out. I wanted to show you what it looks like. As you can see, it's a nice thicker crust. It's a nice thicker crust, and you got the bubbles in there. It's light and airy. You can see on top, it kind of springs back, and then you have your pizza sauce in there and cheese on top and whatever you prefer. And it's kind of just a nice treat. It's not as heavy on your stomach as traditional focaccia. So it's got a nice spring to it, and that's how you make it. Nice crisp on the bottom, and this is what it looks like. So that's this pizza, and I hope you have fun making it. Thank you for watching, and enjoy this video. I wanted to show a close-up of the apron that I was wearing today. This one is a trout and salmon design. They're handmade by friends. If you are interested in these aprons, you can inquire about these at bertelfam@yahoo.com.